Hi guys, my name is Diana Cervantes and I'm doing the methods portion of the article titled Creating Bizarre False Memories Through Imagination by Ayana K. Thomas and Elizabeth F. Loftus. For participants, there was a total of 238 University of Washington undergraduates. However, only 210 participants completed all three of the sessions of the experiment. The 210 students were divided into groups of 6 to 8 students. For materials and procedures, there was a total of 54 critical action statements. 24 of them were taken from the Goff and Rote original experiment, and 30 additional statements were added. Of the 30 statements that were added, 27 were bizarre action statements and 3 were familiar action statements that were added to those of the original experiment. In the experiment, a bizarre action statement is defined as a statement that used a familiar object in a bizarre manner. For example, kiss the magnifying glass. Some of the familiar statements included in the experiment was sign your name on the paper with the pen, stir the water with the spoon, bounce the ball on the floor, put the top on the jar, sharpen the pencil with a pencil sharpener, cut the deck of cards, and cut a piece of thread with scissors, upon many more. In contrast, a familiar action statement is defined as a statement that uses a familiar object in a familiar manner. For example, flip the coin. Some of the bizarre statements included in the experiment were tap the flour on your forehead, balance the roller on your head, step into the plastic bag, balance the spoon on your nose, sit on the dice, and print word with nail polish on a napkin. To determine whether it was a familiar or bizarre statement, 74 participants read all of the action statements on an 8-point Likert scale, 1 being extremely familiar and 8 being extremely bizarre. In an attempt to mimic McDaniel's presentation of 1995, all of the subjects were given an equal amount of bizarre versus familiar action statements. In session 1, which was encoding of events, participants were told to either perform or imagine performing simple actions using materials in front of them. Participants were given 15 seconds to either imagine or perform the action. Of the 54 statements, 18 were performed, 18 were imagined, and 18 were not presented at all during the first session. 24 hours later, or after the first session, participants came back for session 2, which was imagining. All action statements were imagined, and a total of 108 actions were imagined for session 2. For the second session, 27 seconds were given for each imagination. 18 of the action statements were not imagined at all, 18 were imagined 1 time, and 18 were imagined 5 times. To make sure that participants actually imagined the action statement, they had to write the vividness of the imagination on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being not vivid, 2 being slightly vivid, 3 being somewhat vivid, and 4 being very vivid, and 5 being extremely vivid. 2 weeks later, it was time for the third session, which was the testing part of the experiment. All of the 54 critical action statements were presented in a fixed random order. Participants were instructed to complete the source monitoring task, and they were asked to indicate whether they remembered an action or whether they had a feeling they knew it. That is it for my part of the article. Thank you guys for listening.